Hey again everybody, Sedge here. Kirby had so much fun at Thanksgiving, he's come back for seconds. Today we're going to take a look at the first Kirby game that incorporates the mechanics that I personally really associate with the series. That's right, we're talking about Kirby's Adventure on the NES, one of the best games on that system. So get ready and let the feast begin. Today we're taking a look at Kirby's Adventure on the NES Classic Edition. Now this is also available on the Switch Online service in the standard package, so easy to play, a little bit easier than this, but if you happen to have the NES Classic Edition or it's something you're interested in, great way to play it. And right here, we're in the first world, Vegetable Valley. As you can see, we've got some stars here blocking off parts of the area. Those do open up as you clear levels and do certain things in here. Getting into it, we can see pretty similar to Kirby games that I'm accustomed to. If you've played some more recent games, you'll notice that he doesn't get hats or anything. His appearance doesn't change for most things, though not for everything. So we've got the beam power right here. I do kind of miss the jester hat, but you know, it's life. I'll also point out Kirby's size relative to the levels is pretty small, which I really enjoy. It gives him some more room for movement, a little bit more freedom, ability to avoid obstacles, and just adds some other possibilities to the game that might not be there otherwise. And I will also note, at the end of every level, you have the opportunity to get a 1-up if your timing is right. So that's kind of fun, as the case here. And with that level cleared, the map opens up a bit. Now we'll take a minute to look at some of the extra doors in the game. So we have some bonus levels, including the Crane Fever here. This is sped up significantly. It does really feel like a crane game, which is kind of fun. This is my favorite mini-game. Next, we have Egg Catch. Basically, Kirby just wants to eat eggs, not bombs. And after one of these is completed, you can see the door gets blocked off, so you can't just go back and redo them. Then our third mini-game here is Quick Draw. Takes some pretty fast reflexes to actually get anywhere useful in here, but you get some bonus points if nothing else. Then we have the museum, where there are just little enemies stored that Kirby can eat and gain abilities from. And the arena, where Kirby can fight a variety of enemies, take their powers, and get maximum tomatoes. Very useful. Then of course the Warp Star Station, which just allows him to go back to areas where he's been. Speaking of recurring elements, these are Meta Knight's lackeys. You will see them a lot. So I hope you enjoy fighting them. With that down, we'll just take a little look at one of my favorite abilities for a moment here, Freeze. With this, you get a shield ability that also allows you to turn your opponents into ice cubes that you can then hit into other enemies. This is really one of my favorite Kirby powers overall, plus it's one of the few that actually change his appearance. He turns blue here. And of course, there are Warp Stars throughout, as with any good Kirby game. Then there are the mini-bosses. You'll run into a lot of these throughout the game, and most of them have some rarer powers that you won't find all the time, so in addition to providing a little challenge, that's a little added fun. The Crash ability blows up everything on screen. Another one of Kirby's hallmarks is the ability to fly endlessly, which does come in handy in avoiding some trouble throughout the game. This is pretty different for a platformer, as most games in the genre, that would basically be a cheat code. Now we get a look at how Kirby handles underwater in this game. He's no longer defenseless, seems to have learned his lesson from that whale he encountered in Kirby's Dreamland, and can now spout water. And let's take a look at one of Kirby's time-limited upgrades. The Hyper ability allows him to just walk through really anything. You can't destroy things that can't be destroyed normally, but everything else just blows right up. And here is the first boss in the game, Wispy Woods, who does about as well as Wispy Woods ever does. On to level 2, Ice Cream Island, for a little Tropical Freeze. Oh, and speaking of Tropical Freeze, here we go. A little coconut ice to start things off. can see, this level is pretty much what you'd expect here. Islands, water, lots of little creatures running around. Surprisingly, no ice cream, but, you know, that happens. Another useful weapon in this game is the sword, which functions perfectly well underwater. I'd actually say it works better underwater than it does on land. Ah, and there's the wheel. Kirby gets to go for a little drive here on the beach. Good times. The wheel is great for just cruising through things and getting through a level quickly, but can lead to some danger. Then we get our second boss of the game, the artist on roller skates. Well, I can't say the art moved me, I can at least say it moved. And looking at what Kirby's doing with it, it's definitely impactful. So, yep, artist on roller skates, and on to level 3, the butter building. This is one of my less favorite in the game. It's not that there's anything wrong with it, it's just kind of all in this butter building, and as you'll see here, the butter building really does live up to its label. Building made out of butter. Now it does give some interesting options for exploration here, and there's a lot of this throughout the game. You should definitely look around. Sometimes you will find things like this that allow you to hit a secret switch and open up parts of the map that you otherwise wouldn't get to see. And this is the classic hammer boss, who's going to give Kirby one of my favorite abilities for him, the giant cartoonish mallet. And we'll take a look at that in action here. This thing does damage over a wider area than most of what he has to work with, and it can knock down these pegs and give him access to some things that he otherwise wouldn't be able to get to. And here we go, the third boss. I'm gonna argue this boss is probably the hardest in the game, or at least it was for me, mostly just because the stars were going around randomly. Maybe it's just that I was out of practice when I took him on. I had more trouble there than with King DDD, who was the second hardest. Having survived that, it's on to the fourth level, Grape Garden, Land in the Sky. Personally, I think I would have gone for Cotton Candy Clouds, but I didn't make the game, so here we are. This is Kirby's other ice ability. I don't like it quite as much as Freeze, but nevertheless, it does have a better reach. Then we have UFO, possibly the most unique Kirby transformation in the game. Holding down the attack button for different lengths of time will give you different attacks. That star goes through everything in front of it. It's great. Ah, yes, one of the fun cannons to launch him up even further into the clouds. And there he goes. Little cannon to a 1-up. Then you've got crazy over-the-top airships, as sky levels do. Really nostalgic for Super Mario Bros. 3 just looking at this. Ah, the Spike Hall. Though I have said Kirby is a fairly easy game, there are moments where that just isn't the case. Infinite Flight doesn't do a whole lot for you when everything around you hurts. Then we get our fourth boss, the Eyeball of Doom. This time there's a lot more jumping than last time around. And for some reason it seems to be more attached to jumping creatures than Waddle Doos this time around. I guess its preferences change. Anyway, there it goes. On to level 5, the Yogurt Yard. Kind of an odd choice, but you can definitely see some work went into the backgrounds in this game. Again, this is the NES. There are a lot of games where the background is literally just the color black. As in this room. Fun hidden door there. And now we're on to our fifth boss, the tunnel drill thing. I don't know. It's a bit strange, but nevertheless, fun boss fight. You gotta be careful not to let it trap you against the edge of the screen, or you will lose a life. And there it is. Level 6, we're on to the Orange Ocean. This one, unlike the Ice Cream Islands, really does live up to its name. Though the water seems to be blue here, you'll see it is orange. Take a look at the checkerboards there, and the difference between above and below the water. It's a really nice bit of attention to detail. And now Kirby gets to bounce from the treetops above the Fanta Ocean. I feel like this is a real revelation to me. For years and years, I thought platforms like this were just really skinny cliffs with weird tops. Just realized those were trees. Anyway, onto the pirate ship. Oh, I'm getting excited. Dare I dream that the greatest character from Kirby's Dream Land might have returned? And now it's time for Kirby to face off against possibly his greatest foe, who also may very well be the second easiest boss in this game. Would have been easiest, but Wispy Woods exists, so that title is just completely out of contention. Anyway, we do get to see his face, which is interesting. Apparently he's just a cell-swapped Kirby underneath it all. So begins Level 7, the Rainbow Resort. Arguably the last real level, and definitely my favorite. First, we've got a little nighttime action here, where we can see Kirby's laser ability really shine. Love the ricochet, there's a lot of fun to be had with this. And then we're treated to a little mini boss rush. We just climb up this tower, face off against a bunch of different mini bosses from throughout the game. Gotta love that hammer gorilla guy. Nice of him to throw coconuts to Kirby. He'd be much tougher without them. And, having defeated another hammer-wielding maniac, Kirby gets to face off against not one, but two wrestling-obsessed beetles. Good times, wrestling-obsessed beetles. And, finally, a lion that turns into a fireball to finish out this mini-boss experience. And with that, it's on to a warp star to get to the more colorful portions of the Rainbow Resort. Oh look, it's actually rainbow here. These are some of the most fun backgrounds in the game, I will say that for it. Gotta watch out for these little sleepy guys. If you touch them, Kirby will fall asleep himself, which, while not harmful, just kind of wastes some time. Love the colors here. Like Twilight Garden. Oh, be careful here. The gravity follows the direction those stars are in, and if something happens to hit you, you will get dragged right down into the pit, just like that. And here we go. This may actually be my favorite level in the game. This is Kirby's Dream Land in microcosm. Each section of this level is based on a stage from Kirby's first outing. So we went through the forest there. This is Lololo's castle. That would have been where you'd fight the mini-boss version. Then it's on to the area where we met our whale friend. Into the caves. Up to the clouds. And into the stratosphere. And with that, we meet the penultimate boss of the game, King DDD. While he was the boss of the previous title, this time there is someone after him. And he has a really good reason to fight Kirby. We'll get into that in a minute, but kind of love that new ability, turning into a floating duck boat. Good fun. Otherwise, the fight goes exactly like it did in the previous game, except you can bring some abilities in here. Again, I think the fight's actually easier if you don't, but your mileage may vary. And with that, the Duck King has fallen, and we enter what they call Level 8, but it's really just the boss fight. And we see here, King DDD is trying his best to warn Kirby, but Kirby is not having any of it. He has the Star Rod, he's going to the Fountain of Dreams, and he's going to throw it in there, no matter what DDD says. And goodness and light were restored. Oh, wait, never mind, he just unleashed an eldritch horror that had been sealed into the fountain. If only someone could have told him about that. Ah well, at least DDD launches him into space to fix his mistake. And so begins the first stage of the last battle. Kirby, armed with only the Star Rod, versus this ball of starry horror, I guess. Egg? I guess it could have been an egg for the thing that we're about to face off against. And with that little warp star crash, we see the true final boss of the game. This demon thing that was apparently inside the ball of doom? Yeah, whatever that was. Anyway, he shoots stars, his cape prevents his missing no body from taking damage, and you've got to wait for your opportunity to get in there and hit him. Not a hard fight, but definitely not the easiest in the game either. Oh, there it is. With that, the big bad will explode, and we'll see what happens next. Full moon. Well, I guess Kirby blasted him into the moon, and now that's as full as it gets. Kirby sought to find the Star Rod. But King Dedede did not mean any harm. Bad dreams had invaded Dreamland. A nightmare came to the Dream Spring and tried to cause pain to the people. I guess that thing was a nightmare. Dedede foiled the nightmare by hiding the Star Rod from him. Dedede helped Kirby beat the nightmare. Now everyone's dreams will return. Tonight, Dreamland will sleep well. And we really want to drive home the point that Dedede was in fact not the bad guy. And that it wouldn't hurt our friend Kirby to pay some attention when people speak to him. Oh well. He's thrown the Star Rod back into the Fountain of Dreams, and all is right with the world again. And they all lived happily ever after, until the next unspeakable horror befell Dreamland. So how was our second helping of turkey, Kirby? Tasty! This is a great game. This is one of the best titles on the NES. I'm going to say top 10, maybe top 5. And there are some great games out there. You may have heard me say Mega Man 2 before. Yeah, that's on that system. So what makes it so great? Well, the gameplay is amazing. This is, again, where Kirby really gets his start. You still have the flight power. You still have the ability to eat basically anything on screen, but now Kirby gets the powers. So it's just kind of taken everything that made Kirby's Dreamland great and really kicked it up to 10. The graphics are really good, particularly for the NES. Bear in mind, this is a system where a lot of games just have kind of a black screen for the background, and this is colorful, it's bright, it's fun. I will say some of the levels, they probably could have been cut without too much loss. Really, between Worlds 3 and 6, yeah, there's a little bit that's less entertaining, but in fairness, I did kind of sit down and just play this in one go through. If I'd taken a little break after each stage, probably wouldn't have minded so much, and I wouldn't have wanted them to cut any of the bosses, so there's that too. To say it has 8 stages is a little bit of a cop-out, because stage 8 is just the final boss, but at the same time, you know, artistic liberty, I guess. All that aside, this game, there's just a great time to be had there. The music's also great. It's fun. It's colorful. I said before it's easy. Now, that doesn't mean it's easy. Bear in mind, this is easy for a platformer, Very easy for the NES, but expect to lose a few lives. That said, they give you plenty of opportunities to get new lives. Like literally the end of every level, if you time it right, you get a 1-up. And there's, depending on the level, 1 to 3 of them just hidden in there, as well as health items. So it's not hard. But again, expect to lose a few lives. Expect to maybe continue a time or two, particularly when you meet a new boss, particularly if that boss happens to be a sun and moon. I'll just throw that out there. So anyway, as noted, the game is available on the Nintendo Switch Online service, the basic tier. So if you're subscribed, and that is very affordable, you have access right now at no additional cost, which is great. If you have 2 to 3 hours, you can play through. Otherwise, you can just kind of complete a level, take a little break, and come back. You have save functionality. So again, amazing game. Give it a try. And as always, these ain't your granddad's games. They're your dad's. Happy Thanksgiving again, everybody.